If you watched yesterday's State of the Game video, you learned with the rest of us that only 6% what of all active daily players in this game have a maxed Vidar. 6% of you. What the? And no, that doesn't mean dead accounts and bot accounts. I mean, literally you logging in every day. Why do you not have this max? So we're going to talk about why it's important. You must have this. It is one of the biggest things that you must focus on. And I feel like I failed you because I haven't told you enough, apparently. We're going to talk about today why the Vidar is one of the most important ships in this game for you to max as soon as possible. And the good thing is, you can do it as soon as possible. Let's go.
Fancy intro music, yeah! Woo!
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. And again, I think the intro really says the entire point of this message, but more than that, it was just shocking to hear those numbers. And I think in a game that is finally trying to make some effort to update some old content. I mean, the Borg has been out for 3 years, but yet the Borg Solar Armada loop and all this, like, even if you don't like this Borg loop, let me just be real clear. Not everybody likes it. That's fine. What I can tell you is that the Solar Armada set is a heck of a lot better and far superior than the first time we did the Borg with the Mega Cube, this 100,000 cubed, light years cubed ship that supposedly existed that would have made it the size of the Milky Way galaxy. So yeah, it was fun stuff. That was the storyline, by the way. And when we talk about, like, as content creators, when you hear myself or others say, oh, this game's really improved in storytelling, that's why, because at least the stories now are realistic, and like you can read the lower deck stories and like, man, I can hear the characters. It was really crazy back in the beginning, back in the old days. But anyway, let's talk about the Vidar, why it's important. Now, the good thing about the Vidar, let's talk about the early portion of the Vidar grinding. It is a great ship early on because you can max it immediately. It's not held back by all those stupid warp locks. Like, you have multiple gates on a lot of ships. You have tokens to get into some spaces, which the Vidar does have. You have warp interlock locks, which are basically operation locks. You have resource locks. You know, I mean, you've got a ton of things that can hold back a lot of specialty ships in the game. But the Vidar is not one of them. The Vidar is something that you can get early on at 25 through Cosmic Cleanup on Saturdays. So make sure on Saturdays you're doing your Cosmic Cleanup. There's the Vidar just sitting right here. You can operate and build it at 25, then you're good to go. And you can grind it as long as you want to. Now, the key is, and we've seen this with the new content, you want to have it maxed by level 35, giving you 10 levels to do it. Now, should you do that? 100%, unequivocally, yes. And let me show you the rewards of why. There's multiple reasons that we can discuss this, but let's start with the actual Borg refinery. So we're going to ignore the Armada chest for now. I want to talk about just the pure value of what makes this so important for you as a player. If you are watching this, there are two things that you need abundant amounts of in just constant. Like, there's always going to be a grind for this unless you're just doing only special ships. You're going to need independent credits right here, and you're going to need faction credits right over there. Why is that a big deal, Rev? Because the amount that it pays out. Now, I do have a couple of the primes. Like, we got one of these primes for free from Scopely. I know, mind blowing. What? That actually happened? It did. And I'm really curious how many people were around for that. Y'all come talk about it in the Discord if you're from the good old days. We're going to mention that a lot in today's video. But you get the nano probes. You get the independent credits, and then really big faction credits. And if you've gotten this prime, you're getting 600 more a day. That is a big deal. That only comes with a max Vidar. Lower tier Vidars have lower refinery payouts. And what I always try to tell players who come to me and ask is that when you're doing your charged nanoprobes, focus completely on maxing the Vidar first before spending on things like this, and even before spending on solo directives. Now, for whatever reason, the game made it to where if you're like a tier 5 or a tier 8 Vidar, you can still pull this for a stupid high cost, but only get 6 directives. Do not pull the directives unless you have a max Vidar. That's just a trap. It's a literal black hole. Like, do not get sucked into that mistake. But this is the value of it. Independent credit sourcing and faction credit sourcing. And this is a lot, y'all. I mean, we're talking about a ship that is 3 years old that for the average player is providing a significant boost to a dead part of the economy. Independent credit sourcing is ridiculously hard, and you have so many officers that are important in the game that need them. 5 of 11. Hell, every Borg, basically. But outside the Borg, what about Grush? What about Khan? Very important officers to focus in the game and get maxed, and this helps you do it. Another thing is that we need to take into account that let's look at how previous ships have been used. Like, how has old content been revisited in this game? You look at like the Franklin A. Well, the Franklin A is built off old architecture. Like the Franklin was an outdated piece, and they brought in the Franklin A to refresh it, to revise it, to make it better. They did the exact same thing with the scroll, the Fuchsia. Now, I've not put a ton into my Fuchsia. It's only tier 5, but the Fuchsia is fantastic for warp range and obviously concentrated Latinum mining, which gives you Platinum, which hell, you can use Latinum to buy faction credits if you wanted to. So these are just it's a pattern that we've seen where old content tends to get updated by releasing new variants. But the problem is, every time they do this new variant, what happens with the new variant? You've got to have the old ship at its top tier, right? Now, this is not Rev saying that you are going to scrap a Vidar for a Vidar A. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is, historically, what this game does is it takes the old content, refreshes it, makes it new, but it's expecting you to have mastered and completed the old. So not only do you have a reward system that many players, apparently 94% of active daily players in this game are missing out on, that is a big deal. Like, I got to make myself big opinion. Listen to Rev. You want to focus on the Vidar. This is going to hurt some feelings. It's more important than the Saladin. It's more important than the Horizon. Y'all might not understand yet. You're a newer player. I'm gonna go back down to regular size. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't just be talking at you like this. You're a regular player, free to play, low spender, but even a heavy spender. Listen, you're going to need a butt ton of faction credits. You're going to need a butt ton of independent credits. How many? All right, let's take a 34 epic, all right? Cool, let's use a visual example. Everybody wants this, right? We all want the Enterprise. It's beautiful. It's shiny. It's what got us into Star Trek. That's 180,000 faction credits, ma'am. 180,000. And that's cheap. You know how much about Pylums? 500,000. You know how much a Tribune is? 1 million. How much a Corvus is? 500,000. You need faction credits. And then you're like, well, 600 a day doesn't sound like a lot. Pull that for 100 days and tell me it's not a lot. You want that. And that doesn't count if they decide to make it better. If they do decide to release, a better version of the Vidar and a future, because what we've been asking for years, hey, these level 33 hostiles are too low. We have so many players leveling up. So you have this twofold thing. One, yes, you 100% should focus on maxing out your Vidar. You 100% should be taking advantage of the rewards that you can get every day. It should be part of your daily grind. Yes, the grinds are too much in this game. And if you had to pick and choose, then pick and choose a grind that actually has high payout value. And the Vidar does. And you see, I'm using this crew based on my research. I can actually go in at level 45 and use this pretty daggum easily to fill up my cargo bay. And that's how I get all my turn-ins. But one of the nice things about this is one of the very few ships that doesn't require you to be like dedicated to Pipe Moreau Chin. You can actually load it out with something else. In fact, this is a very common early loadout. This is actually one that we use a lot against the level 29 hostile. So for those newer players going, well, what crews do I use? That right there. And if you don't have 5 of 11, A-okay. 5 of 11 is only helping you get more loot. So you can run this against the 29s. You can run Pipe Moreau Chin versus the 25s. And then when you get to the high levels, what a lot of people end up doing is they're going to run something like this, 5 of 11, but take these two off and put Chin Talon right there. 5 Chin Talon. If you get really high level, you got a lot of research backing it up, you end up running what I'm running. 5 or Stan. But again, that's only for like mid-high 40s players. You got a ton of research, everything else helping you out. Hopefully that gives you a kind of an idea. Like the video if it does, by the way. I hope it does help. So I really want to push the point. You want to work on your Vidar. Get it maxed. Start taking advantage of those rewards every day. And whether they decide to update the Vidar soon or it takes them another year to come back and update the Borg loop. I mean, the solo armadas are obviously a pretty big addition, so maybe they don't add anything else. But no matter what, you're missing out on significant payouts in your game if you're ignoring the Borg refinery. To the point of, this is more important than doing an amalgam, right? This is more important even arguably than doing, I hate to come to the Cerritos and say the Cerritos, but let's just be real. The lower deck officers are good, but value-wise, you need the independent credits to max out so many other officers. You can argue Borg's more important than even doing Cerritos on Wednesdays. So do all them things, and the good thing about the Cerritos is you can complete the Cerritos events by doing a lot of other stuff, but I'm just talking in general, the value of the Vidar is insanely high. And the good thing is you can max it out very soon. Now, for those curious, a timeline, an average free-to-play turning in every day is going to take 6 to 7 months to max out their Vidar. So there is a time scale there. And as awful as that time might sound, that's actually not that bad, because the Franklin's a year free-to-play, the DeVore is, gosh, a year. So yes, it is a little high, but at the same time, it's doable. And if you augment it with Cosmic Cleanup, there's an event on Cosmic Cleanup to try to help get more charged nanoprobes. There's event stores that come out every 3 to 4 months to do that. So let's see how far we can get the rest of the game. I'm actually going to follow up with Star Trek Fleet Command and Scopely in a couple months. Okay, so in January, 6% of the game had a maxed Vidar. How much has it, or how many have it now? Hopefully this video helps. And if you have any questions about the Vidar, crewing questions, how does it work, why does it work? I've made videos before, but I'm more than happy to go over this content. All you gotta do, comment down below. Look, I appreciate you watching. So go home, live long, and prosper. Stay safe with those Space Cowboys. Deuces, that's me. Catch you on the next exciting video, which is always here because I love this community. Go.
An even better outro than the intro. For the Empire and glory to your house.